Hi, Sharon Schultz, also known as the Bay Lady here. I am bringing you this really short little video. I'm about to do a longer one live, but while I'm here, did you know that Ellicott City, Maryland held a prominent place during the Civil War as an important stop for the Underground Railroad? It's true, they did. Location was part of it because the first railroad station in this country was constructed here in Ellicott City. It's still there. And this was the first line that was laid 13 miles from Baltimore to Ellicott City. So it became an important transportation hub and therefore attracted sympathizers to runaway slaves and Underground Railroad activities. Okay, so let me show you the courthouse. I'm going to turn this around, but I have to do a quick little bit of magic first, unfortunately. I don't even know what you are seeing when I am doing this, but we shall see. Okay. Oh, you know what? I don't think that was the right. Oh, yeah, it was. Okay. Here we go. All right. Gosh, I'm better than I thought. All right. Let me get you to the front of this courthouse. The courthouse in Ellicott City, the Howard County Courthouse, is significant and important in my story because this is where runaway slaves, when they were captured, were brought before a judge. Now, luckily, they did get to go before someone, but it was only to officially remand them to the custody of law enforcement officials that were running the jail. So the jail is where they were held after this stop here. Okay. This courthouse was built prior to the Civil War, 1850s. And this front portion, the original portion, is the original portion. There have been add ons like the building ahead of us here that we will take a look at. Nice little bit of ground here. So, anyway, did you know that the police forces we have today, do you know how they came about? Who the first policemen were? Any clue? Any idea? No? Well, I can tell you that the first policemen were the slave catchers. That's right, the slave catchers. And then they stayed. They went on. Just as we're walking up here, a couple places I wanted to point out. This is the Ellicott Mills Children's Museum. It looks like you've got the first floor right there, the grand entry. But continuing on down the side into the street, there's another entrance. This is one of the buildings that has entrances on 3 levels on the hill. Okay, and now this is still the courthouse, and this is another stop on. This is that's a stop on my Haunted Ellicott City tours, and I'm laughing because this is where the cooking ghost lives. And she's cooking. I can't believe it. I was not ready for that. I can smell it. um, yeah, this building, it's not being used now. In fact, the whole courthouse has been moved to a newer and better location. So this is all empty. But anyway, court employees back in the day when they were here would when they walked by, they would smell the ghost. They would smell the food. Some saw her preparing food in a kitchen that was never there. But anyway, I never saw her, but I did smell it several times. And Just now. Unbelievable. Good. Well, maybe I'll have luck with my live tour coming up, which I'll be headed for shortly. Maybe I'll run into Sarah Vanderlot again. Wow. Interesting. So, dead ahead here, this little stone building, this is the jail. Okay. It's at the back end of the courthouse, but keep in mind that's all addition. Okay. It's all new additions. So, actually, the jail was a few steps away from the courthouse, further than it is today. This jail was built in 1878 or something like that, late 1800s. But this formidable, awesome, intimidating building was where they would hold any prisoners for whatever reasons. I'm trying to see if I can get to the front side of it, but I think the trees are in the way. But they would hold any prisoners here. Prisoners that were going to be executed, were going to be hung. They traditionally put them in dark cells. They sat in darkness up to the time of their execution. I think the feeling was, in the dark they couldn't get into any more trouble or something of that nature. Here, that's the back side of the jail. This is an addition. A few years later, I don't know, I forget. But anyway, it came about 10 years after the jail was built. And that yard that you are looking at um, is where the hangings used to occur. Okay. People that were, sentenced to death were hung back, right down there. We're going to get over a little closer here in a minute. And the main part of the jail, the old part, was where the prisoners were. This part was built for, actually, that wasn't 1878. I'll find out what it is. I'm wrong there. Anyway, this back part was built for the runaway slaves, to hold the slaves until they were claimed by their masters, their owners. But right down below here, right down along this wall, is where the gallows were and hangings happened. In fact, there was one hanging, it was a lynching. Actually, there's a story about a tobacco shop. Man owned the shop, and he he had it was right after the Civil War, and he had a store clerk, an employee, with him one evening when the shop closed. Now, the employee was a former slave. Apparently, many former slaves in the area tended to, hang here and get jobs. So he had a job as a clerk. His name was Jacob Henson, and he worked for Daniel O'Shea. Well, something happened one night when they were hanging out having a beer or whatever, and got into an argument. And Daniel O'Shea started it. He pushed Jacob Henson for whatever the reason was. And Henson decided he was going to fight back. As Shea came at him again, Henson had a knife and he stabbed him. The problem was when the authorities came and viewed the body and all of that, Henson had stabbed him more than 20 times. 20 times, far more than somebody just trying to defend themselves. Anyway, so Jacob Henson was arrested for murder, sentenced to death, and incarcerated here in front of you in the jail. Unfortunately, the people of Ellicott City were upset by what happened, and they decided to take matters into their own hands. There was a dogwood tree down here in the backyard here, or whatever you want to call it, and they strung them up and hung them. They took him out of the jail and just carried him back here and hung Jacob Henson for his crimes. So, one more thing before I go. Check on the days. Okay. All right, here we go. The jail was, come on. The jail was established in 1851. So, yeah. And from that time through slavery, they were housing the not only the slaves, but it says the freedom seekers and those charged with encouraging enslaved persons to run away or rise up. They were all held here from January 1852. It was used through November 1st of 1864. So, among the prisoners here held at the jail were runaway slaves like Augustus Briggs and Richard Martin. They were held as fugitives without a pass. So there you have it. It's a final shot of the courthouse and the jail before I swing this camera around to me again, facing front. Come on, front face. There we go. Okay, and here I am. I'm back. So anyway, I'm going to sign off. Day Lady here. Again, like all our tours, these are tip-based. So this is just an excerpt of a much longer tour. I have several Haunted Ellicott City tours that I do. So this was just a little piece of one. But now I'm headed up the hill, that hill, to do a tour of the most challenging haunted area in Ellicott City. And that would be the Patapsco Female Institute, which is located right on that hill. Well, you can't see it, but the hill behind me. Anywho, all right, I'm going to go now. Take care, and I will see you all shortly.